The Night Crossing, Chapter 4. The family continued to walk. Every mile was more difficult as they drew closer to the mountains. The air was thinner from the higher altitude, and the steep angle of the path they followed was tiring. Clara's feet had swollen over the tops of her shoes, and she'd had to remove them, which hurt terribly. Though she tried not to, she cried now and then from the pain. Finally, as dawn approached, they were able to stop and rest in a ramshackle goat shed, a hiding place that Papa had arranged for before they left Innsbruck. For a great deal of money, the man who owned the shed was willing to look the other way while they hid in the cold straw among goat droppings from the Nazi patrols. But the family had been in the shed only a short time when the man who owned it threw open the latch door and motioned angrily to Papa. The man spoke quickly and turned back toward his small house a few yards from the shed. Papa's shoulders slumped as he turned to his family. "He wants more money, or he'll turn us in," Papa told them sadly. "He says the Nazi patrols have been searching his farm every now and then, and he won't continue to risk his family without more money." They all knew that the money Papa got for selling their valuables had already been spent. "We're so close," Papa murmured to himself, shaking his head with worry. Just then the shed door opened once more. It was a woman this time, likely the farmer's wife, with a small basket of food covered with a checked cloth. She smiled briefly at them and held out the basket to Mama. But Mama stared down at the dirt floor, so the woman turned to Marta and offered her the basket instead. As Marta reached out, a slight clink sounded. Mama looked up desperately, certain that her candlesticks would be the price of their hiding place. But Marta was no fool. Quickly, Marta jiggled the links of a small moonstone bracelet on her arm. The bracelet was a present she'd received last Hanukkah from a classmate, and not valuable enough for Papa to sell with their other possessions. The early morning sun streamed through the reedy slats of the shed, and Marta purposely turned the bracelet a bit to catch the sunlight. The woman seemed to like the bracelet very much. "Ah," she murmured with admiration as Marta took the basket from her. When she reached out to touch the bracelet, Marta pulled her arm away, taking a chance that a show of selfishness would make the woman want the bracelet even more. Though she had a safe home in Nazi territory, the farmer's wife looked desperate and poorer than the Gentiles in Innsbruck. Her weary face showed that life in the countryside was indeed touched by a war. The woman stood straight, giving Marta an angry look, and then turned and left. "Good, Marta, very good," Papa exclaimed, giving his older daughter a hug. "When she tells her husband about the bracelet, he'll know that a Nazi patrol wouldn't let him keep it if he turned us in. So he will have to bargain with us, or his wife will pester him." The family huddled together in the shed and they waited. Then, as they had hoped, the man appeared at the door with his wife standing behind him. So a deal was made, and Marta's moonstone bracelet was the price of hiding in the shed until sunset, when the family would continue on their night crossing. Once again, they'd been lucky.